Oh, God, do I love making 10-minute videos just to have it stop for no apparent reason. All right, guys, this is Barn on 11970. It is rant time. I am so getting tired of banks and criminals out there being allowed to get away with their criminal activities, and the government and the people do not do anything about it other than give them a slap in the wrist. We have banks like, for example, HSBC, who was caught using drug money and money to finance terrorism. They were laundering money for drug users, drug dealers, and terrorists. And you know what? They settled for a $1.9 billion fine. Just imagine how much money they must have made off of that. And you know what these governments probably say? They're probably thinking, well, you know what? These banks, they're making a lot of money. Terrorists will spend a lot of money on weapons to kill people. Drug dealers will spend a lot of money on weapons and things to kill people and make sure their products get in safe. They don't care who they kill. So it's probably helping the economy, and it's keeping it stable. So let's look the other way. Just give them a little slap on the wrist, and then we'll just allow them to continue to do it. And the people will be happy because there is no collapse. So yay, the banks are doing a great job. I mean, really? Is this what we're boiling down to? Where we can actually allow banks to steal from us and sell to terrorists? Last time I checked the whole 9/11 thing, we've spent the past over a decade plus trying to stop evil terrorists. But even though, people like Saddam Hussein and people like Osama bin Laden were CIA operatives paid by the CIA and trained by the CIA and given weapons by our government to be able to do the things that they were doing. Because if you remember, when Afghanistan was having the conflict with Russia, they wanted the Soviet Union, and they being the United States of America Corporation government people, wanted Russia to experience our Vietnam. So we financed them. We trained them. We gave them money, weapons. So I thought we were supposed to fight terrorism. So I guess what it really means is, as long as it's on our side, and as long as the banks are making money that generally help the people, and it doesn't mean we have to bail them out, well, then I guess it's okay to do criminal activities. Now, just imagine, and obviously I don't recommend anybody doing any illegal activities because it's just not what I'm here for. But let's say, for example, hypothetically, you rob a bank and you get away with $1 million and you get caught. And they tell you, well, this is what we're going to do. We're going to keep it as hush-hush as we can, so you're not going to see it all over the news. You're not going to face any jail time. Just give us $1,000 fee, and we'll let you go. Now, if you were that person, would you ever have a real job again for the rest of your life? Well, if you're an idiot, you would. You'd spend the rest of your life stealing from banks and robbing, knowing that, well, I'll get a slap on the wrist, I won't get in trouble, they won't even mention it, and I'll just have to pay, what, 10%, 5%, 1% of whatever I steal, and they're okay with it? So in other words, the government's saying, here, give us some hush money, and we'll allow you to continue to be able to have your illegal activities continue. And we as hypocrites, all of us, most of us would rather care about what's happening in the Super Bowl, or who's the next American Idol, or what celebrity's dating what celebrity, we really need to start sitting there and saying, you know what? We need to stop looking the other way. We need to start talking about this stuff. Otherwise, we deserve the collapse that we're going to get. Because you know what? As criminal as these criminals are, if we allow them to continue to get away with these illegal activities where they have nothing done, then we deserve everything we get. And anybody out there that has an HSBC account to this day, especially after watching this video, if you don't close your account, then you are a hypocrite. You deserve what you get. Now, of course, if you didn't know about it, we can't be responsible for that. So it's one of those things where it's kind of a little tightrope. If you are dealing with banks and you didn't know they were corrupt, well, you have an excuse. Once you know, if you continue, then you're saying it's okay for them to keep doing it. As long as they keep the economy stable, then it's fine. You're okay with your government doing that? And this is countries throughout the world. Now, HSBC got caught. Just imagine how many times they did not get caught. Just imagine how many other banks out there still have not been caught. Or maybe doing deals under the table. and they hire all these people to regulate them, and all they do is, at the very worst, slap them on the wrist with a fine that I guarantee is less than the money they've stolen. And most people say, well, as long as I don't say anything, I'll be fine. Nothing will happen to me. Well, that's a bunch of crap. Because who do you think pays for all the bailouts for these banks, for all these criminals to finance drug cartels and terrorists? Well, guess what? Ultimately, it's through us. Maybe not directly. They don't knock on your door and put their hand down your pants and take out your money, but they'll raise your tolls on your bridges. They'll raise the taxes that you have to pay for schools. They'll take away more money out of your paycheck. Your electric bill will go higher. The road taxes and everything else will go up. You tired of being robbed yet? How long are we going to be complacent? I mean, look at, like, for example, businesses like Walmart. For them to get you a $15 DVD player, basically what has to happen in a nutshell is they have to get the material at cheap labor. So they have to send it overseas where people are willing to make $1 or $2 an hour, or maybe even less. So they'll have child labor and people that are treated so bad that they actually have to put nets around the building to keep them from committing suicide. Or they have to go over and take another country's land where they have their possessions, where they'll kill many innocent people, which they politely call collateral damage, so they can take their forests, their lithium, their water, their whatever, their gold, their minerals, all these different things, so this way we can live a comfortable life. And as long as we don't see it and hear about it, because the news is all bought and paid for, well, then I guess it's okay. Really? Is that what we've become as a society? Do we really give that little a shit about the average human being? That we can actually call murdering people collateral damage? And look at what they've done. Look what our government's done. Just in the United States of America Corporation. National Defense Authorization Act, which on New Year's Eve, while everybody was partying and getting drunk, because that's what's important in this world, they pass one of the most incriminating laws against the Constitution that they've probably ever had. And that's saying a lot, considering they've created things like the Patriot Act, which is allowed by law to spy on you any chance they want. And not only did they pass the National Defense Authorization Act New Year's Eve of 2012, they tried to take out the part that gets rid of habeas corpus, which means no fair trial, no defense. The president can name you a terrorist without proof and actually have you taken away by a military tribunal and actually taken away indefinitely or even executed. And if anybody's in your car at the time, like, for example, if they could label you a terrorist and you're driving in your car with your family going to work and they wanted to drone kill you, well, you know, a few kids died, that's collateral damage. They don't have a problem with that. And I'm not saying it's going to get to that point, but, you know, there have already been kids where they targeted people and they said, well, you shouldn't be around that area, around those people. Really? So I guess somebody that has a child, they should just leave that child on the side of the road? I mean, you know, this is what our country's become. But in 2012 on New Year's Eve, they actually, the president, our president, said that should be in there. So in other words, we are not supposed to have the right of free trial, and nobody has a problem with this? I guess the Super Bowl is way too important for people because, you know, we all have to pretend that we need to have a sense of humor, we need to have fun, we need to take things so less seriously. So, in other words, you're saying, as long as it doesn't affect you at that moment, just have fun, live your life, pretend nothing's wrong while they screw everybody. Well, you know what? That's fine for you if you want that, but I hope you don't have kids. And I hope they don't have kids. Because while you're sitting there watching your Super Bowl and they're printing more and more money, which is $85 billion a month, and plus God knows what else they're printing without telling you, you're destroying and allowing them to destroy your children's future and their children's future. So if you're that selfish and you think the best way to handle this stuff is to pretend nothing's wrong, watch a football game, go get drunk with your buddies, then you have no right to complain. So when your children grow up and your grandchildren grow up and they're living in a world so much more restrictive than what we have, and they ask you, how did it get this way? I want you to look them in the face and say, well, you know what? There were people who used to talk about it on YouTube, but we always used to call them crazy because they were over-passionate about what they talked about. And we would say things like, you know, you just got to live, just got to laugh, just got to watch a Super Bowl game. So I'm sorry, honey. I'm sorry, granddaughter. I'm sorry, grandson. I'm sorry, son, child. I was having a good time. I was watching my football game. I didn't pay attention to the National Defense Authorization Act. I didn't pay attention to HSBC selling, loaning money to drug cartels and terrorists. I didn't say anything about the fact that the TSA gropes everybody. So I'm sorry now that your life is so controlled. But you know what? I had to smile and laugh. We should all be ashamed. And it shows how the government doesn't really give a shit about things. Because let's say, just for example, things like the Sandy Hook shooting, things like the Batman and movie theater shooting, all kinds of shootings are very bad. They should never happen. And they should do things to try and help people. But it shows how they're trying to pass an agenda. Because instead of going after the criminals, instead of going after the mental health issues that they might have had, or the actual medications that they were being pumped in by the FDA-approved medications, which you see all the side effects of what they do, they want to regulate gun control to the point where they may eventually try a gun ban. The reason they can't do it now is people would stand up and say, no, you can't do it. But here's the thing. Think about drunk driving accidents. There are more people that die from drunk driving accidents than there ever will be from guns, period. Probably tenfold, if not more. And yet you don't see them saying, well, we got to stop the alcohol because isn't it alcohol that causes drunk driving accidents? Well, if we get, then by the same note of saying, well, guns are supposedly the reason for the shootings, and we want to get rid of the guns, well, then that would be the same as alcohol being the problem for drunk driving accidents. Why aren't your government people taking care of that? Where's the outrage for banning alcohol? Well, they did try that once in Prohibition. How'd that work? Where all these mafia people and all these criminal ass people came out, and they couldn't even stop the alcohol anyway. But that's my point. You know why? Because they make money off it. And next time you go to a bar, you go to a liquor store and look at that bottle of vodka or rum you're about to buy, you'll see a nice little red sticker over the cap. Well, what is that? That's the paid taxes that the government gets. So as long as they make money, it's okay. So if we want to be a bunch of hypocrites and say it's okay to do these things, then you know what? We deserve everything that we get. We should have that collapse. And I would love to watch everybody crying about how unfair life is and how they didn't see this. Bullshit. People see it. They just don't care because they think, oh, it will never happen to us. Well, you know what? I'm glad I didn't live in the time of Pompeii when all those people lived under an active volcano where they said, well, one day it can happen, but it's not going to happen this time. Well, guess what? Sometimes things do happen. So if people want to say, like, to me, I'm over analyzing it, I'm being over dramatic, you know, I should calm down and relax. You know what? I'll calm down and relax when we have an honest government. I'll calm down and relax when our banks are stopping stealing from us. I'll calm down and relax when you do something illegal, like selling and loaning money to drug dealers and terrorists, they get thrown in jail. Until then, I don't give a shit about a Super Bowl game. And I used to have party after party. Before I was awakened in this years ago, my house was the house to come to for a Super Bowl party. I would have hundreds of dollars worth of liquor. I would have Jello shots. I would have food. I would get sandwiches and pizza. This was the place to be. And nice, big, high-definition screen before anybody else had them. But you know what? I don't give a shit about that stuff anymore. I'm worried about what's really important, is saving our government from total, annihilation of its people. Getting rid of the Constitution by ignoring it and passing illegal laws. You know what? But here's the thing. Until everybody else gets off their ass and takes responsibility and actually does something, this is how it's going to be. So I guess as long as we look the other way, it's okay. Well, you know what? I know a lot of people that will not like this video because people don't like the truth. They don't like to be awoken from their mass sleep, even ones that say they are awoken. When are we all going to do something? Complaining does nothing. I can't do it myself. I need a bunch of people out there to wake up and wake other people up and care about more than the American Idol, Super Bowl, and who's dating who. Until then, we deserve everything that they hand us. Peace. Enjoy your Super Bowl. Hope it's worth it.